So without further ado, I'm going to introduce the first company, Avalon.
Hey guys, thanks for taking the time to listen to us. My name is Derek.
I'm Akeil.
And this is Avalon. And to give you some background, I was a TA here at CMU for Concepts, which is a proof-based mathematics course. And we had about 200 students and 30 TAs. And each TA would work about 10 to 15 hours every week. But the reality is that only 4 of these hours were spent teaching, and the other 6 to 11 was spent grading. And grading sucked for 2 reasons. One is that it was grading. There's a ton of work and no one likes it. But the second issue is that we put all this time and energy into grading, but students really wouldn't look at their feedback, only when they did poorly or worse than expected.
So we estimate CMU spends over $1 million in grading a year. But the bigger picture is not just that we could save institutions money, it's that grading is expensive, which creates this inequitability. The UN's goal number 4 for quality education is completely bottlenecked by this ability to grade quality at scale due to the lack of resources that some universities may not be able to have. Think about it. Not every university can hire a large army of TAs to grade large assignments. And to address this inequitability, we built Avalon. Avalon is a human-in-the-loop AI grading system, which solves the 2 biggest problems of grading. 1, by reducing grading time by 95%, and 2, by rethinking the way we give feedback. We are currently in classes at CMU, and our product is complete, and Derek will show you what it looks like.
Yeah. So to start, the professor will post some sort of assignment, and the student will visit the website and make their submission. When it's time to grade, the student or the professor will first upload some reference solution, define the specifics of their feedback that they want to give, and then define an initial rubric. But before we go to grade, we have to calibrate our AI grader. And this ensures that the AI is grading just like the professor does, and not grading on its own. How it works is that the AI is going to start, and it's going to actually grade the submission. And the human is going to be watching. And if it makes a mistake, or it's not grading how the human wants it to, the human will tell it. It'll provide feedback to it. The AI will take that feedback, suggest a change to the rubric, and remember not to make that mistake further. The idea is we repeat this on 5 to 10 of the submissions, and then we apply the AI to the rest of the submissions. But this only addresses the reduction in grading time, and it doesn't talk about the feedback at all. To rethink the way we give feedback to students, instead of just getting your grade, you actually get an empty rubric. It is then the student's job to grade their own assignment based off of the same rubric that the AI did. We then compare the AI's grading to the student's grading. And if there are any differences, they'll submit a discrepancy report, which is basically a reflection on why it's different. An example of a discrepancy report had is that this student thought they deserved the rubric item, but the AI didn't give it to them. The rubric is looking for some sort of causal relationship, and the student argues that the causal relationship is in their first sentence. The student's first sentence, however, talks about a correlation, not a causation, indicating that the student doesn't understand the difference. So the instructor can give this targeted feedback to the student. We recently just finished a research paper on it and submitted it to AI Ed. We found that 78% of submissions were self-graded, compared to nearly half of all feedback files going completely unaccessed. We saw a 95% reduction in grading time, and we have high signs of a lot of accuracy, with only 9 out of our 1,729 judgments being overturned. When it comes to our competition, we do things a little differently by rethinking the way we give feedback and by targeting non-essays.
Our business model is simple. We charge $10 per student per semester, which is 1/10 the current cost of grading, making grading extremely accessible and affordable for all institutions. And we have a lot of room to grow. With 3.5 million US teachers and 4,000 US degree institutions, the US is just the first step in a worldwide opportunity of 1.3 billion students who need equitable, high-quality assessment tools. Currently, we have 2 paid courses and 20+ commitments in the fall at CMU, Pitt, and Chatham. And we are currently in an intro to psychology course at CMU, as well as a machine learning course.
Our current commitments lead to about $10,000 to $20,000 in ARR, but we're rapidly expanding our paid pilot program to 100 plus professors or 100K ARR for this fall. If things go well, we're going to expand the program to over 1,000 professors. This is the team, and this is our future. Do you have any questions?
Judges? Great ask.
Hi. Okay. So I guess this sounds interesting. I'm a professor. I don't like grading either. So this sounds good. I think the question I'd ask is, you just outlined what you would do. What's to stop someone else from doing the same thing? Like, how do you defend your pricing, right? You have a pricing right here, and your pricing is based on what we're currently paying in terms of our human labor. But if a competitor shows up, they're going to compete with you, and you'll be competing based on your baseline cost. Your baseline cost might be very low. So I guess the question is, how do you defend against someone else looking at your pitch and saying, man, that sounds like a good idea. I'm going to do that too.
So we have two reasons about this. The first is with our research. We think our research is very important to kind of validate that this is a good thing. Yeah, so a lot of the professors actually, they're like, is it accurate? And we show them this research paper, and that's one of our big moats. The second thing is that we're actually patent pending for our whole entire system, the calibration and the students grading system. We're currently, under patent pending.
This is on? And the courses in which you've already signed somebody up, doesn't that mean they don't need TAs anymore?
Right. So this is actually a big concern that a lot of our universities have. And we're not removing the need for humans. In fact, our paper is a human in the loop system. We're just reallocating their hours. So instead of being spent graded, they can be spent teaching with students or working with students instead.
And do you think that, I mean, I was a TA once too, and I had to try to grade papers and I hated it. So I understand the motivation here. But it seems to me that if the universities would adopt this, that it might improve the educational system, but it might lower the need for TAs, in which case there would be taking an opportunity for people to get educated away.
Yeah, so the idea is not that we're going to get rid of all of the TAs. Instead, we're like changing like what it means to be a TA. They're no longer going to spend hours and hours grading 100 papers by themselves. Instead, they're going to be working with students or providing the targeted feedback like the discrepancy reports. And the other thing is now this frees up TAs' time to do other opportunities like research and other high-value tasks, which we think are more impactful in grading.
Rocky, then Matt.
Could you share a little bit about what are the results of your research paper? So like, what was the efficiency? Like one TA, say, for example, in 4 hours can grade 10 papers. What are they doing now? Or like, how much has that increased? And then you said the self-graded thing. I find that very interesting, is that people self-grading, which I think is actually such a good idea. How is it actually changing perceptions? Like, can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah. So I'll address your first thing with the actual role of the TA. Now the role of the TA, instead of just grading, they do the calibration system, and then they respond to the discrepancy reports. And so we'd found that only 15% of submission actually has like active disputes. So now the TAs are reviewing that. And each one of those is about 2 to 3 times faster than grading a normal submission from scratch. As for the results of the self-grading, we see that students are much, much more engaged because 80% of them did it. And we also found, we haven't done a specific research paper analyzing the learning outcomes of this, but from our initial survey results so far, students seem to really like it and really appreciate it.
A comment and a question. I think it's genius, very smart idea to bring the students into the self-grading process, and the reports that you're producing, it's really focusing the human effort on a problematic piece that seems to be very efficiency driving. A question maybe about it seems like you're asking an institution to go through a financial, like a procurement process shift. You know, they have humans actually being paid to accomplish this, and now you're moving them to like a software service licensure process. Have you done any testing, or you have any kind of feedback on how you might go through helping people understand how to shift that cost and the efficiency that they're finding in this new model?
Yeah, so we've got about 20 to 30 paid commitments for this fall. And it's actually not that difficult of a process from the individual professor level. And kind of one of the benefit we have compared to high schools is that the people often making these decisions are closely related to the professor role in either the department level or the professor course level. And so shifting that is not that big of a deal. The other thing you mentioned was like human TAs. We're not actually removing the need for them. So they don't need to go and lay off all of their staff. We're just kind of like readjusting their goals and readjusting their role.